Do you think the Cisco CLI show commands show too much output at times, and you want to learn how to filter them down? Hi, I'm Ronnie Wong, and here to show you what the pros know. Working with the Cisco CLI, a lot of times you'd end up running show commands. These show commands really help you to troubleshoot the actual router that you're on or the switch that you're on, but they can show you a tremendous amount of output. So what we want to do is be able to learn how to filter this down. So let me give you an example of what I mean by actually showing you too much output. So a lot of times our basic command, the one that we end up loving as we actually are learning about Cisco CLIs and the CCNA exam, CCNP, we love running this show running dash config because it shows us everything that we need. The problem is it actually shows everything. Now, sometimes too much information is just as bad as not enough information. So let's take for an example that I'm looking for gigabit Ethernet 0/2, which you see right here about the center of the screen. Now, I don't need the rest of this, but I need at least that configuration. I need it to pop up immediately. Sometimes on switches, you might have hundreds of actual interfaces. Here on my router, I only have 3 or 4 interfaces that I'm really worried about. So how do I begin to actually just show that at the top of the screen? Well, the way that we can do that is by using that pipe command. The pipe command is normally a key that you find above, let's say, the enter key or the return key, like on my MacBook is above the return key. And you actually see that it's that vertical line that you see. So if I type in show running dash config, I can then use the pipe command like that. And now I can say, hey, I want the output to begin with, and I don't need the entire word. I just need a portion of the word, Ethernet 0/2. Now it has to be exact. Notice there's no spaces, so it has to match exactly the way that you see it, such as right here, it has to match that. And now, when I press enter, in a moment you actually end up seeing that where I typed that command in, it began exactly right there. So it actually kind of filtered out a bunch of information. So that will help you to kind of zoom in on what you really need there. Now, that's not the only command that we can use this with. The pipe command can be used in several different situations. One of my favorite ways of using this is with another output that's kind of one of my primary go-to commands here for show commands, which is show IP interface brief. Now remember that if you're actually on like a Cisco switch, you may see hundreds of these interfaces that you see, but a lot of times you don't configure every single interface, and sometimes you might see the word unassigned somewhere. And you don't need to actually see any of that. You only want to look for the ones that have valid information on it. So for example, that first interface on gigabit Ethernet 0/0, I'm not using that at all. So I go, I don't need to actually see that information. Well, I can use that pipe command again. So let me see if I can help by just hitting that instead. So I just hit my up arrow. I'm going to use the pipe command, and this time I can actually type in exclude. So there are some keywords that you can learn, but at least that one that begins and excludes, those are actually key for us. Those are kind of the primary ones that I use all the time. So if I actually do exclude, I can just type in, well, I want to exclude the lines with the word down in it. So if I do something like that, notice the difference right here. We're actually able to exclude all those, and you put it in the context of a switch. A lot of them, instead, you might actually just type in unassigned, or even the first 3 letters, UNA, and that reduces all those that are actually unassigned and only leaves you the information that you need to. So you can see something like that as well. Now, what if I only needed to see, let's say, a section of output from the show running dash config? So I hit my up arrow just a few times here. I'm going to go back, and this time we're going to select this, show running dash config, pipe, and then we actually don't even need the word begin. This time, there's another keyword that we can say section. Now with section, I know that I have OSPF running on my router here. I could say, hey, I want it to go directly to OSPF, and now notice it only shows me that configuration. So not only can we actually say, hey, we want to begin somewhere, we can filter it down to only show what we need to. If I know that I'm actually running something like BGP, I know that I can do this as well, where I actually can show you the commands that are actually on my router that also associate with BGP as well in terms of that section and what's going on here. So all that's actually possible when we start doing that. Now, the other one's also kind of good as well. So one of the things that can show you too much information is show IP route. Now notice as show IP route comes up, there is the entire code table that you see, But as I come on, oh no, what is with that code table? It has a lot of information in it that I don't need to. Well, what if I could limit it down to something like this, where I go, hey, I want to actually begin here, and that gives me pretty much the most of the table here. So I hit my up arrow again. I use the pipe. This time, I can even shorten it down to B, which is a key word here. Then I can tell it to begin with gateway. And notice it has to be capitalized because that's the way it shows it. And now you can see it essentially eliminated or excluded that entire code table that we saw right there as well. So all that's very possible for what we want to be able to do. Now there's one more command that's really helpful, especially at the CCNA level as you start to do this too, which is show interfaces. Now, this one gives you too much output. It gives you every single interface and all the details behind what we see. Now, sometimes on a particular interface, you may end up finding out stuff that you want to see, and so something like that. Let's say that we're looking for runts is what we're looking for here, okay? So I can actually do that as well, where I can actually say show interface, and I can even go gigabit Ethernet, and we'll do 0/1, and then we'll do a pipe command here, and I can actually say I want to actually make sure that I want to begin with, let's say, runts. And right here you can see where I can actually show you the runts that are actually on that one interface as well. So I can say that one interface and then show me beginning with the runts there, and that's what we can also do too. All right, so those are some of the different commands that you can use with the pipe command to help filter down the output that you need. Now I realized something, there's one more that I want to show you actually related to this command right here. So let's go back to my screen and this will help us out as well. So I hit my screen, instead of actually showing like the beginning here, I can actually tell it, hey, I want to actually do all the interfaces instead. So I can do show interfaces, then I can include, let's say, runts. So I can actually see it. There are problems actually going on. And here it is. You can now see where all the interfaces, there's 3 different interfaces. It doesn't tell me which one, but you can see that there were 37 runts, 41 runts, 41 runts again. That shows me that there are some issues that are going on, at least in this configuration. But overall though, take some time, learn about these different filter commands, and you'll be working the way that the pros work. Check out our playlist to see more What the Pros Know videos, and be sure to subscribe to the ITProTV channel. I'm Ronnie Wong, and now you know what the pros know.